When you step into a cafe, scroll through a shopping app, or sit in a crowded restaurant, there's something happening around you that most people never consciously notice. It's not about the decor, the menu, or the prices. It's about behavior. The way people order. The way they hesitate before paying. The way money leaves their hands without much thought. What you're watching in those everyday moments is a quiet pattern playing out in real time. A pattern that explains why some people slowly build financial stability, while others stay stuck, stressed, and uncertain no matter how much they earn. The uncomfortable truth is that a large portion of adults are living one paycheck away from panic. And this isn't because they're lazy or incapable. It's not even because their income is low. Research repeatedly shows that a significant number of working adults cannot handle a relatively small emergency expense without borrowing or falling behind. We're talking about amounts that are smaller than what many people spend on a phone upgrade or a weekend trip. What makes this more alarming is that this financial fragility doesn't stay confined to one group. It exists across professions, education levels, and income brackets. You'll find people earning impressive salaries who feel constant pressure, and others earning far less who seem calm and in control. Income alone doesn't explain the difference. That's because being financially stuck is rarely about how much money comes in. It's about how money is handled once it arrives. The daily choices. The automatic decisions. The habits that repeat quietly month after month. Every financial decision leaves a small mark. Over time, those marks form patterns. Patterns become habits, and habits quietly determine whether money becomes a tool that creates freedom or a source of constant anxiety. The problem is that most people never identify the behaviors that keep them stuck. Instead, they blame timing, the economy, bad luck, or not earning enough. These explanations feel comforting, but they're often incomplete. The real causes are usually visible, just not acknowledged. To change financial outcomes, you first have to understand the patterns that lead to financial stagnation. Many of them aren't dramatic. They don't feel dangerous in the moment. In fact, some of them feel normal, responsible, or even enjoyable. That's what makes them so powerful. One of the most common reasons people struggle financially is the absence of clear direction. Imagine trying to travel to an unfamiliar city without knowing the destination. You might drive for hours, but movement alone doesn't guarantee progress. Without direction, effort becomes random. This is exactly how many people manage money. Income comes in, expenses go out, some saving might happen occasionally, but there's no defined target, no timeline, no clear purpose guiding decisions. Without specific goals, financial choices become guesswork. Should money be saved or spent? Should extra work hours be taken or should time be invested in learning a new skill? Without knowing what you're working toward, there's no rational way to decide. Clear financial goals act as filters. They turn vague decisions into simple ones. When someone knows they want to eliminate debt by a certain date or build a specific emergency fund, every expense gets evaluated differently. The question shifts from, "Can I afford this?" to, "Does this move me closer to what I want?" Another major factor keeping people financially vulnerable is the lack of preparation for predictable disruptions. Life doesn't run smoothly forever. Cars break down, health expenses appear, jobs change. These events feel unexpected, but they are guaranteed to occur over time. When there's no buffer, even small disruptions force bad decisions. Debt fills the gap. Stress increases. Problems compound. What could have been a minor inconvenience becomes a financial setback with long-term consequences. A third issue is operating without visibility. Many people don't truly know where their money goes. They have estimates, assumptions, and rough ideas, but not clarity. This creates a familiar experience. Money arrives, spending feels reasonable, and yet nothing remains. Without tracking, small leaks stay invisible. Frequent convenience spending, forgotten subscriptions, habitual purchases, individually harmless, collectively destructive. Over time, these unnoticed leaks quietly drain financial progress. Another deeply rooted behavior is living entirely for the present. Enjoyment matters. Experiences matter. But when short-term comfort consistently overrides long-term security, the future is treated as someone else's problem. This mindset leads to decisions that prioritize immediate satisfaction while assuming future stability will somehow appear on its own. Unfortunately, financial security doesn't emerge automatically. It's built intentionally. Expensive habits also play a major role. Not always obvious ones, but routine spending patterns that feel justified. Daily conveniences, frequent dining out, recurring indulgences, these don't feel like sacrifices, but over years they represent enormous opportunity costs. Money spent repeatedly on consumption is money that never gets a chance to grow. And the most damaging part is that these habits often coexist with the belief that investing or saving is not affordable. Debt further complicates the picture. Many people fail to differentiate between borrowing that builds long-term value and borrowing that destroys it. Debt used to acquire assets that generate income or increase capability can accelerate progress. Debt used for short-lived consumption does the opposite. Destructive debt doesn't just charge interest, it locks people into payments for things that lose value while limiting future choices. It creates pressure that reduces flexibility and increases vulnerability. Another powerful trap is spending driven by perception. Purchases made not for usefulness or joy, but for image. The desire to appear successful often costs more than people realize. Ironically, those who actually have wealth tend to spend less on appearances. They understand that money used to impress others is money removed from growth. Meanwhile, those under financial pressure often spend the most trying to look stable. This creates a loop where appearance requires spending, spending reduces stability, and reduced stability increases the urge to maintain appearances. A less obvious but equally damaging pattern is paying everyone else first. Bills, expenses, lifestyle, and only then, if anything, remains the future. In practice, this means the future rarely gets funded. Reversing this order changes everything. When saving or investing happens first, automatically, the remaining money gets managed more intentionally. Scarcity encourages creativity. Prioritization becomes natural. Fear also keeps many people stuck. Not reckless fear, but excessive caution. Avoiding all risk feels safe, but in reality, stagnation carries its own risks. Inflation erodes idle money. Opportunities pass unnoticed. Successful financial growth doesn't come from avoiding risk entirely, but from understanding and managing it intelligently. Income limitations also play a role. Many people think exclusively in terms of time for money. More hours equal more income. This caps potential. Wealth grows when income sources are diversified and decoupled from constant effort. Building additional income streams requires upfront effort and patience, which is why it's difficult. But without that shift, financial ceilings remain fixed. Another overlooked factor is education. Financial understanding isn't static. Markets change, rules change, opportunities evolve. Those who stop learning operate with outdated information and become vulnerable to poor decisions and bad advice. Financial literacy compounds just like money. Small improvements in understanding lead to better decisions, which lead to better outcomes, which create more opportunities to learn. The encouraging truth is that none of these patterns require extreme changes to fix. Progress comes from identifying one or two weak areas and improving them consistently. Clarity creates control. Preparation reduces panic. Awareness changes behavior. Small adjustments repeated over time quietly reshape financial outcomes. Wealth doesn't come from dramatic moments. It comes from thousands of ordinary decisions made slightly differently than the majority. The future isn't determined by where someone starts, but by what they repeat. And the moment those repetitions change, so does everything that follows.